We'll call Public Safety Transportation Committee meeting to order. Be looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Duckham, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Did you say something? Yeah. Okay. We've reached the first opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Brings us to committee items. Be looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the January 10th meeting. Moved by Duckham. Supported by Walls. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Passes unanimously. Takes us to appointments. We have a few appointments. Unfortunately, two of them are currently vacant. First one is Public Seat, Communications and Media. We'll need to advertise for that again. The second is Public Seat, Service Area, Mental Health, Public Health, Substance Abuse. We also don't have an applicant for that. The third is the City of Jackson Police Chief or designee. Current member is Chief Hitt. He has a proxy designation of Deputy Director Sergio Garcia. Be looking for a motion for Mr. Garcia. Moved by Williams, supported by Bear. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Passes unanimously. Takes us to the District Court Judge designee. Current member is Daniel Goostrey. The proxy designation would be Jeremy Burns. I'd be looking for a motion for Mr. Burns. Moved by Walls, supported by Bear. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Passes unanimously. Takes us to the county prosecutor. The current member is Mr. Jarzinka. His proxy designation would be Katie Rezmarski. Thank you. Be looking for a motion for Mrs. Rezmarski. Moved by Bear, supported by Williams. All in favor say aye. All opposed. She passes unanimously. That takes us to Jackson County Department of Transportation, ARPA funding. Hello, Angela.
Good morning. Happy Monday. All right, so this is our ARPA request. We talked about it at study session, but it's a request to authorize the just over $3.3 million in lost revenues to JCDOT from the 2021 ARPA funds that the county received.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Angie. The loss of revenue was from what we had anticipated getting and what we actually got. So moving from here forward, are we going to change something so that we don't rely totally on what we anticipate they will give us? Is there some way of knowing sooner, better, what we will actually get so we don't end up in this same situation again of being underfunded?
So, yes, we are working as a team, monitoring everything monthly to watch the trends for MTF. We went back historically. The state has a website, so you can look at what we have pretty much, I can't remember how far back, 15 years of our MTF data. And we looked at how it comes in each month. So we've tried to analyze that and predict our monthly payments, and we're watching that as it comes in, and then adjusting activities as much as we can. Now, like the write-up said, the MDOT contracts that we have, those get on the tip, and so those funds we commit ourselves to. It's our maintenance activities and winter operations, those things that we're trying to monitor and improve on our expenditures so that we're not in this situation. So the lost revenues, you were correct, it's the difference between the projection in 2019 and what we actually got for the MTF.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from committee members? If not, I'd be looking for a motion to forward this to the full board. Moved by Bear, supported by Duckham. All in favor say aye. All opposed? This will go to the full board, and that takes us to the next item, which is the county farm road easements.
Okay, so this item is the approval of the acceptance of 12 permanent easements. And as you'll see in there, there's 11 of them that actually Blackman Township are paying for. That's for the portion of the project that is sidewalks and improvements for the township portions of the projects. One of them, though, JC Dot is paying for $213, and that's for sight distance triangles at an intersection. So we're asking for approval to accept these. We went through negotiations with all the landowners. An original offer was you take the square foot price of the parcel and you divide it by half, and that's what the guidance tells us to offer them, and then you negotiate from there. So we have them listed in there, the different dollar amounts that we have agreed upon with the 11 property owners, and we're asking for approval.
Okay, and the cost of the county is just $213, right?
Yes.
Okay. Committee members, any questions? Seeing none, I would be looking for a motion to forward this to the full board. Moved by Duckham, supported by Bear. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously, takes us to loaders.
All right, so one of the first board meetings I stood up here as your managing director, I talked about that we'd be bringing these to you. We have looked at our loaders. We currently have 10, and they're falling apart quickly. So we've looked at Cat, we looked at John Deere, and then Volvos. And we're asking to purchase 3 of the 2022 Volvos from Alta Equipment for the total dollar amount $931,939.20 over a 5-year loan. Our team worked very hard at analyzing what equipment to buy, which vendor to buy from, the different equipment. Each vendor's specs are a little different, but we settled on Volvo because they actually, I think the biggest thing was the reach. So now that we do the recycling and construction, they allowed our loader to get closer to our flow boys and reach a little bit higher so they're not banging on the top of it. That was one of the biggest feedbacks we got from our operators when they demoed this. They demoed, I believe, all 3 different pieces, the loaders from the different vendors, and they liked the Volvo the best. These loaders are used pretty much daily. They're used in storm events for pushing off trees. They're used for loading material in the yard, moving material, and they're used on site for different construction activities. So we are asking for approval to purchase the 3 over 5 years. I will point out really quick, the per cost is the $310,646.40, and if you look at the quote, that does include, so it's the unit price, and then it includes the bumper to bumper and the maintenance warranty for the life of the loan. So that's how you get to that $310.
Okay, I believe Commissioner Duckham has a question.
Yes. Good morning.
How old are the ones we're replacing?
I have Bob behind me. I think I saw him sneak in, but I'll try, and he can correct me if I'm wrong. We have 7 cats that are older, and I don't know the year range.
4 and 5s.
2004s and 2005s. And then we have 2 case and 1 older case.
How many newer loaders do we have? None?
2. Come here. I don't.
We have,
The camera.
typically our long-term usage machines, if you're not just pounding on them. And
Our
ours,
existing cats are 2004, 2005s, and they're pretty much rusting out from underneath us. The only 2 newer ones we have are the 2 cases that we bought back in 17. So they're already, 5 years old. And then we got 1 really old case that just never seems to give up the ghost, and it runs like a champ, and we're going to keep it until it falls apart. But that's where we stand right now.
you know how many hours are on them?
All of them are either at or pushing 10,000 hours or over. And usually 10,000 hours is where things start giving out. One of them, actually one of the cats, did give out on us the other day. The preheat unit for the Cummins engine is like a screen inside there, and it stayed lit for some reason and disintegrated and got sucked through the engine and destroyed the engine. So any one of them could do that at any given time, and that's now a $40,000 engine if we want to do that, along with another $10,000 worth of tires that it needs. So we don't feel $50,000 is worth putting into that loader, and we're going to sell it. But the other 6 are in that same general area.
18 years old.
How old are they?
18.
18 years old.
Yeah, but they're not used every day, they're not a car. 10,000 hours,
Can we move on to Commissioner Bear? Are you good?
no, I'm.
No, you're not? Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna, okay.
Not old enough?
No, I don't think they're much used at all. I mean. these
10,000
things
is where
don't-
most companies would get rid of them.
They're 30,000 pounds, they don't just like rust out. The metal on them is,
The cabs right now on all 7 of those are basically held on by baling wire and duct tape, but.
and how
I mean,
much is a
that's-
new machine?
What's that?
How much is a new machine?
310.
310.
How much is a new cab?
Cat?
Cab.
Oh, cab?
Well, a cab isn't the only thing. I mean, like I said, just that one engine and the tires are 50 grand.
I bought these things, okay? I bought them. And 10,000 hours is like nothing on a machine. I could put 10,000 hours on a machine in 2 years.
They don't
I
run in
get rid of a
salt.
2-year machine.
I think it might have the material that we're loading to the salt.
All right, I'm good.
Okay, Commissioner Bear was first, and then we'll go to Chairman Shotwell. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Angie, what do you intend to, if the board approves the purchase of 3 new ones, what are you going to do with the old 3 that aren't worth fixing up anymore?
Sell them.
Sell them to somebody
Well,
else? that
hold
will-
on. So the one that's broken, we plan on selling.
That'll go on Gov Deals to auction.
And then the other 2, we intend on using until the trade-in value or the sale value, we don't think is, you've looked at how much we'd get and it's not worth.
It's in that 40 to 50,000
Yeah.
range.
So we plan on using them until they are not usable.
Okay, so 2,
2 of them will still be used until they're in that stage of the 3rd one where we,
all right, so if one's dead,
yep,
2 are
on the edge.
old but still working, then why are we buying 3?
To
You're
replace,
going to have a total of 5 then. You'll have 2 old ones that are still working, need some work, and you'll have 3 brand-new ones. So what will you do with 5 working machines?
we use them all. So we have 1 at each garage, 2 at each garage that are used.
2 at each garage, and then we also have one that's always out doing like the tree crews, things like that that are out every day, no matter what time of year. So every garage has 2 loaders, and then we always have at least that one, and then the one old case that, like I said, when it finally goes, it'll go, and we'll probably drop down to 9.
And one's for,
And right now, we've got one that's limited. We don't let it out of the yard because some of the issues it has with it. We just feel it's not safe to be out on the road, but it still loads trucks and stuff for us in the yard.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman Shotwell.
I'm good. I apologize, sir.
I guess my question would be, obviously, there's some concerns here from some of the commissioners. Is it okay if we were able to come out and take a look at the machines?
I was going to offer that. You can come, Bob or Matt Rupert can take you out and show you the equipment. They're not all at the Elm Garage, so we can get pictures if you'd like, and get them to you. But if you want to come out and see them, we would be happy to show them to you.
Okay, I think pictures would be a good thing to get to us before Tuesday night's meeting.
We can do that.
Okay, great. I'd be looking for a motion to forward this to the full board. Moved by Wall, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
All right,
Duckham's a nay. All right, that takes us to the Page Ave RSA contract.
All right, so this is just our typical MDOT contract for one of our safety projects we got. I think this is the fourth RSA we've brought to you for Page Avenue. So this is where we will pay for the independent firm to study that roadway and then make recommendations for improvements. It will be a total cost of $4,000 from JCDOT, and it has been budgeted in our 22 annual budget for capital road improvements.
Commissioners, are there any questions? Seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion to forward this to the full board. Moved by Bear, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to the monthly report.
All right, so winter, that is what we're up to. As you'll see, we did get out before this storm in January, and we were able to do some roadside mowing with our swing arms where needed. We had some roads that were getting pretty grown in, so there's a picture of that. And then plowing as needed. You'll see on the next slide that we do have, I'll do it, just a summary of our January material usages. Now, I want to point out this just goes to the 26th because that's when we submit our board next for this board meeting. But you can see that the county, we had almost $175,000 in material usage in the month of January up till the 26th. And then the state was just over $100,000. Now remember, the state is our state contract, so they pay for that, and we get the 8.5% overhead on top of those materials. Then, I think it was last month that I was asked to discuss our new re-graveling process and the benefits of it. So we just added quickly our policy number, and then the re-graveling is a 50-50 cost share with townships. Then the benefits of our new process, where the old process, remember, is where we just have the gravel haulers go down the road, windrow it out, and then we use a grader to grade it out, about 6 inches of gravel. The new process, we're using our paver from the recycling train and placing it. It gives us a precise placement of material, so the thickness and then the cross slope is at the exact measurements that we want, which is typically on a project 6 inches deep, 5 to 6 inches deep, depending on the project agreement, and then 2 or 3% cross slope, depending on the drainage. It is more efficient. It's a bit faster. The equipment moves slower, but the process as you move away from it is done. We have a roller behind it that compacts it. But when it's placed with the paver, originally just coming out of that paver, it's got about an 80% compaction from the screed that vibrates on the paver. So the roller doesn't have to work as hard to get the 90-95% compaction that we want on that gravel road. And then a fun fact is that it's about a 60% reduction in trucking costs. Typically when we did it, we'd use 5 tandem dump trucks, and that's equal to about 1 flowboy when you equate the equipment, labor, and fuel costs into it. And then again, safety, it's an increase in safety with the correct slope and consistent density, so you have no soft spots. And then the last page is just a picture. That's our very first win we did in 2020, Cornell Road. And as you can see this winter, it's a pretty tight, uniform cross-sloped road. It's holding up nicely. And then just to remind everyone, we did Hot Craft this year. So we'll get some pictures of that in here for next month.
Committee members, any questions? Commissioner Bear.
Thank you. Angie, I don't know all of your equipment. What is a flowboy?
Sorry, so that is like the asphalt haulers. So you see the long truck that the asphalt comes out in the paver.
Okay.
So you don't have to raise the dump box of it. Like our snowplow trucks, when we use those for doing construction, those you have to raise the dump box to get material out.
All right.
They have the
Thank you.
belt.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I'll be looking for a motion to accept the report. Moved by Wall, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you very much. Also, thank you for the report you gave us on what was going on with the plowing, so that we could talk to our constituents. It really helped on this last snowstorm. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
And just so everyone knows, our guys are out today in their routes again, and so they'll be pushing the shoulders back, cleaning up everything. We did get some snow, so there's a little bit of slush or meal. Meal is the term they like to use. It's where the salt's starting to melt it, so it looks like oatmeal, I guess, on the road. So they'll be cleaning that all up today, and then they probably will be pushing some stuff tomorrow still in subdivisions, but they'll be out there. We are monitoring all the Facebook and everything. If you guys haven't seen, we've been posting on there. So comments that have concerns, we're monitoring that and checking, making sure that we're getting those cleaned up. So, thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. That takes us to the prosecutor's semi-annual report, and Mr. Jarzinka is here. Good morning.
Morning, everybody. Okay, to begin with, the last 6 months of 2021, we continue to use remote working on occasion. And in August, basically it was a major development. Jury trials resumed in the county, and that process got going. Interesting note about that is it's not as simple as turning on a light switch. There's a lot of moving parts, the court, the judges, the jury system, the attorneys. So probably by September, October, we got more into full swing with those. Looking back from last year, compared to the last really 5 years, warrant requests for both misdemeanors and felonies, of those we authorized and those were denied. You can look at the trend. Obviously, the last couple years of 2020 and 2021 coming out of the pandemic, there's the number of warrants that were actually submitted to our office for review were down slightly from, let's say, 2018, 2019. We expect this year, 2022, that's going to increase as we're coming out of the pandemic. But if you look at the warrants authorized the last, even before the pandemic, it's not that far off, even though we had less warrants that were submitted for review. Juvenile petitions and Child Advocacy Center interviews from 2021. Last year in 2021, we had a total of 399 petitions submitted for review by police agencies. Of those, we authorized 252 juvenile petitions. Regarding our Child Advocacy Center, we had 357 referrals for child interviews. Of those, we interviewed 314 children at the CAC. Also want to let you note the APA coverage of the CAC. The way the system is set up now, we have interviews scheduled Monday through Thursday, both the morning and afternoon. And our office, basically, we have an assistant prosecutor who's present for both the morning and afternoon if needed. Friday is off for prep time. So that's quite a commitment in our office to have someone there. Currently, because of the pandemic, we've been able to use a Zoom in order to be present for those interviews rather in person, driving to the CAC building itself, which has been very helpful to us. Going back last year, cases from July to December, because of the jury trials resuming, we really had some good movement on some of our cases. September, Trey Askew was a case that happened in January 2021 at Menards. It was a shoplifting that went bad where the defendant pulled a weapon on the security officer for Menards. Ended up being an armed robbery. He basically pled guilty and was sentenced to 15 to 40 years. Then in October, we had a jury trial, People versus Christopher King. It was a very bad road rage incident in which he pursued another motorist to his home, all the time using a weapon to fire at him. The victim there was Ty Marshall. This happened March of 2020. He was convicted of assault with intent to murder, multiple counts, sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. Raheem Armstrong, this was a murder case that was hanging fire from October of 2017. The victim was Ronald Owens. It was a jury trial, convicted of first-degree felony murder. That's a mandatory life in the Department of Corrections. And then also in October, we had a plea in the criminal sexual conduct first degree, multiple victims, William Aiken. This occurred between 2013 and 2019, received a sentence of 40 to 80 years. And then finally in November, the Aaron Bankhead case. This is the murder of Cordell Brzezowski in May of 2019. Pled to second-degree murder, received a sentence of 30 to 50 years. And finally, the Larry Madden Jr. trial. This is a domestic violence situation. The victim was Bobby Joe Thomas. This is from back in December of 2017. He was convicted by a verdict of first-degree murder and also domestic violence third offense, which is a felony. That's mandatory life in the Department of Corrections. So we did see some movement on some of our murder cases since we resumed trials in July and August, which is is encouraging. Looking ahead here to 2022, the next couple months, listed some cases of note that are coming up on the trial docket. February, Frankie Ackley, which is a murder case. Najeed Thompson is a sexual assault case. In March, we have three murder defendant trials. Darvin Cole, Clark Brown, and Zachary Borden. Those are all murder cases that happened in 2021. Zachary Borden was a triple homicide that occurred in Grass Lake Township. Noting on that too, although we did make good progress with jury trials resuming at the end of 2021, we did have some courts that came down with COVID infections in November, December, and here in January, because of the COVID numbers, I think there's been a pause as far as trials go. Our court system hasn't closed down our jury trials yet, as in other counties. They've taken a more cautious approach, taking a case-by-case basis. So we're hopeful that these cases I've listed are going to go to trial here in the next couple months.
Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you. Do we still have people accused of murder out on bond?
That's a good question, Commissioner. I know because of the pandemic, judges did have some released on house arrest because it was so long. I think some of those defendants have been tried, and we've had resolution on their cases and the ones I mentioned. I don't know the total number. I suspect that most defendants would be in jail, but I can check on that, the exact number.
I know we had a report from the Sheriff's Department, and we had like 12 of them lodged in jail, and there were 6 out on bond. And it's kind of a scary situation in my book.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's this whole pandemic thing has really caused an issue with speedy trial rights. I don't envy the judge having to make a decision like that. Certainly, we want to go to trial, but if you can't bring in people safely, the jury, that being the jurors, then you've got an issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Bear had a question.
Thank you, Chairman. Got a question on your slide, 2021 cases from July to December. One of these people that was convicted for murder, that was a murder that occurred back in 2017. So can you tell me, where was this person for the last 4 years? Were they in jail?
You're talking about Larry Mann Jr.?
I thought it was King that you said was
Or Raheem Armstrong?
2017.
Yep, we had 2 from 2017. Raheem Armstrong's 2017.
Doesn't matter their name. One of them was, the murder occurred 4 years ago. Has
Yes.
that person been in jail during this past 4 years?
You know, that I don't know for sure. I know someone released on bond because the trials are taking too long to get to trial. I don't know exactly. If you have a specific case, I certainly can look that up.
Well, if I had a loved one murdered by a accused murderer that was out on bond, I'd be quite upset with the judge that said, well, we'll just let him go. I mean, these are, obviously by the sentences, these are dangerous, violent people.
I agree.
To be fair, it's
So if
the
you're-
judges that make that determination, though, Commissioner, not the prosecutor.
I know.
Okay.
So if you're going to, I think you had been requested to look at this and tell us how many of these people were in jail pending their trial and how many were out on bond. When you look that up, can you add to that, which judge was it that let them out on bond?
Sure.
Because if some do and some don't, well, that's going to affect who I vote for next time I vote for judges.
Sure. Yes, Commissioner, I can look that up.
Thank you.
In all fairness to the judges, I mean, this is a pretty crazy situation. I think we have to go back 100 years where we had a pandemic, and so I think that's a tough decision for them to make. They alone can set bonds in what amounts they are or not, and that's why they're judges. But I certainly can look up that data.
Well, if I was making the decision, do we keep a violent murderer in jail where he might catch a cold, or do we turn him out so he doesn't catch a cold? It's an easy decision for me.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with that being said, I understand that it's really up to the judge's discretion as we move forward with trials and things of that nature. But is there anything on our end that we can do to help these move along? I don't know if that's a request, or I'm not sure if there's really anything we can do, but I'm just curious if there is.
Well, the judges basically control the courtrooms, and when it comes to trials, it's their docket. They control it. Obviously, bringing in jurors, certainly they made efforts since August to try to put safeguards in place so we can bring in people to serve as jurors. And I think they've made efforts to do that. In fact, we started out using the Commonwealth Commerce Center as a staging area to bring in new jurors, jury orientation, and then select them for panels and bring them individually to each courtroom. So try to keep them as safe and separate as you can and avoid having a large group come in. So they've done that. Then eventually that kind of phased out as we seem to be doing better with our numbers. As we start 2022, I think they're still looking at a week-by-week basis based on how we're doing with the COVID numbers. So I think our local judges are trying to do the best they can to help us get cases to trial.
Okay, and then finally, I know other counties have brought in retired judges or judges from other counties to help with the dockets and things. Have we looked into that?
That I don't know. That'd be up to the chief judges, Chief Judge Jordan and Chief Judge Goostrey, if they're looking into that. I know with Judge Phillip retiring, we do have a visiting judge covering his docket in district court. Judge Jordan retired from Lansing, or Ingham County. But as far as additional judges, I have not heard of any plan like that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further.
You're welcome.
And then I just have one question. Obviously, everyone that's been watching the media has heard about a recent case of a convicted murderer, second degree. The higher courts have ruled that our judge was too stern on the amount of years, and I read that the guidelines for second degree murder was only 12 years in Michigan, and then I see here a conviction for 30 to 50 years on second degree. What's the basis on that?
Yeah, I think the basis on that opinion, that's unfortunate because refer to Judge McBain, who I've had good success with in the past, both as an assistant prosecutor with jury trials and now as the prosecutor. So as that my take on the opinion, it was very harshly worded, and I think it's because my opinion is that the Court of Appeals sent it back down for resentencing, and he did resentence, but according to them, did not follow their order, and so it was appealed again, and then it came back again, and I think they were upset that after twice ordering that, did not do that. So, but your bigger question is more complicated about minimum sentence guidelines. And Michigan's a truth in sentencing state, so basically, unlike other states, whatever in a felony conviction a judge assesses as a minimum sentence, let's say 12 to 20 years, in Michigan, that defendant must serve a minimum of 12 years, for example, in the Department of Corrections before they're being eligible for parole. So the minimum sentence makes a big difference in Michigan, probably more so than a maximum sentence you may see in the paper. And everyone knows that, the defendant knows that, the prosecutor knows that, the defense attorney knows that, the judge knows that. So that's the key number. So it used to be the minimum sentence guidelines, those are pretty much mandatory. But several years ago was an appellate decision that said those are no longer mandatory, they're discretionary. So a judge who's a sentencing judge basically has discretion either to go above the minimum guidelines for sentence or below. So in this case, that Commissioner Kennedy's mentioned it, the judge, he made a decision to go above the guidelines. I think probably where he got in trouble is that he made comments on the record at sentencing about this is really a first-degree murder conviction when it was not. It's second degree. Had he not gone into that, probably would have been okay, is my thought, because the judge has wide discretion to either go below or above the guidelines. And for a second-degree murder conviction, it's not uncommon to see a sentence minimum of somewhere between 20 and 30 years. Just depends on what the judge wants to do and the facts of that case.
Yeah, it just shocked me that you could take someone's life intentionally and 12 years would be the guideline. That just doesn't fit the crime. Non-violent crime, people go away longer.
I would agree, yes.
Okay, well, thanks for your explanation, and sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. Okay, moving on to our slide regarding victims' rights. Part of our office, we have a victims' rights unit led by Sue Vogt. Basically, this is part of Michigan's Constitution, Michigan statutes regarding victims' rights, and so we have to be in contact with victims, support them for felony crimes and certain serious misdemeanors. And so last year, in 2021, we issued 4,689 letters to victims of crime. Also, we applied for compensation to the Compensation Board for funeral medical bills for 148 families. The Victims' Rights Unit attends a number of hearings, pretrials, motions, parole board hearings, commutation hearings, jury trials, and also schedule and attend meetings with victims and also coordinate victim impact statements of victims. In fact, this morning at 11, because of COVID, we have a Zoom hearing with family members of a drunk driving victim, People versus Jacqueline Shepard case. So we're meeting with that victim. It's been my policy as the prosecutor, when we have a homicide case, we start out, I like to meet with the surviving family members of the victim and introduce them to our prosecutors going to be assigned to the case and answer any questions the best we can to start the case. So the Victims' Rights Unit is very important for our cases to help victims navigate the system. And then community impact, even though we've been impacted by COVID, we're still involved in a number of different committees and boards, even by Zoom. The monthly coffee meetings basically have kind of gone to the point where they're by appointment in my office instead of outside in a restaurant. Community impact, you've probably seen the news this past year or so. SACI is just an acronym for Sexual Assault Kit Initiative. You know, the untested rape kits we saw several years ago, we found in Detroit and the Wayne County area. We're part of a regional grant with Ingham County. We've got about 70, there were 70 untested rape kits in Jackson County that now we're pursuing. Those have been tested. We're pursuing those with victims to pursue those cold cases. Also, violent offenders monthly meeting. I have 2 prosecutors that participate in monthly meetings with local police department, city police, about violent offenders or shootings in the city primarily. Also, Project Safe Neighbor is a federal grant where we have those same attorneys are involved with working with the federal U.S. Attorney's Office with the gun violence in the city. And finally, Project Guardian, that's where it's a federal grant where we have an assistant prosecutor assigned to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Detroit to work on our cases that actually get sent federally for federal prosecution from Jackson. And lastly, just an overview of some of the different responsibilities we have. Through district, circuit court, we have a specialty court, appeals, neglect and abuse, mental health petitions, juvenile court, forfeitures, and victims' rights. And so that would be my report here for the last 6 months of 2021.
Thank you for the report. I believe Commissioner Williams has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a couple of other questions, but I know I owe you a cup of coffee, so we'll talk on that a little later. But I was also wondering, past meetings you've mentioned just about staffing and just kind of the overall flow of the office. I was wondering if you could kind of give us a little bit of an update on that.
Sure, yeah, thank you. I did bring that issue to the attention of this committee back in November, but after speaking with the chair of this committee, Mr. Kennedy, I decided I was going to basically pursue that concern, the budget talks starting in April, but in the meantime to approach commissioners individually with data, with our staffing and caseload levels and what we do. But currently, last year was a tough year because we lost 4 assistant prosecutors, 2 retired, 2 left for other jobs in the state of Michigan as administrative law judges. So basically, we've hired 3 new assistants over last year. 1 position of the 4 is not going to be filled because of the merger with the Friends of the Court, with our family division. So we're going to, including myself, we'll have 12 attorneys total. So that's the good news, but you have new people, it's always it's a challenge because there's training, orientation, and it's going to take them a few months to get comfortable and to learn their job. So that's a challenge there. The positive thing is under the federal grant for to help prosecutors in Michigan, the COVID grant for part-time prosecutors, we have 1 former assistant prosecutor from Calhoun County is going to start today to help out part-time. Christina Beta, I think her husband's a local businessman. And then we do have an interview, we're hoping that another attorney is going to pass through the final checks with the Human Resources Department, and we'd have 2 part-time COVID prosecutors, which would be a huge help for us because it's been hard to find people. So hopefully that develops this month as well. We'd have 2 part-timers, which will help a lot in some of the district court docket and free up some of the assistants for our jury trials we have.
Sorry. Yes, and then my last question I have for you. I've been contacted by a couple parents whose children are either graduating from high school or getting ready to graduate from college, and they're looking at pursuing law school and moving forward. They're wanting to know if your office has any type of internship experience where those individuals may be able to look at, okay, is prosecution what I really want to do? And I know and that's why I asked first about staffing to go into this, but I'd hate to stretch the time if it really wasn't there, but I was just curious if you did.
Sure, we've always done that. My first 9 years as a prosecuting attorney, we've always entertained interns, both from law schools nearby up in Lansing and also Ann Arbor. We've had college students come in as interns, they're thinking about a law practice. We've actually have high school students. So I always look at it as a way to recruit. We're always looking to recruit prosecutors for the office. So yeah, if someone's interested, they can reach out to me. Certainly can set something up. Typically that happens during the summer when the students are off from school. And also want to impress with them too that, it's a serious matter, and you have to abide by confidentiality because of cases you maybe read about. That a lot of the information we really can't disclose to the public you know, there's confidentiality that you've got to observe. But yeah, we'd happy to look at a person who's interested.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Chairman Shotwell.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you for all your hard work and due diligence, and I'm most appreciative of the work you've done as our prosecutor. With that being said, I'm looking at warrants requested and reviewed. That's what page I'm on. I noticed since 2016, you've actually reduced the amount of warrants that have been authorized, and it has been trending downward. I realize COVID is an artificial issue, but I'm looking at the 3 years prior to that, 16, 17, and 18, and we still were trending downward. We had talked through this issuance back in November that the Board of Commissioners was interested in finding out what all the court cases and everything that your divisions were doing. And as a side note, while your office isn't representing us in the Family and Children's Division, we do have a lawyer out there, and that is being represented. So while it's not underneath your purview, there is somebody there. We didn't abandon that. I want to make commissioners aware of that. So,
Yes.
but is that trend, is that an expected trend, or do you believe that it's going to level off, at about 2,400 a year? Does that seem like a relatively good number going forward?
Sure, that's an excellent question, Mr. Chair. I expect that's going to go up. I don't expect that to go up to 6,000 warrant requests submitted as we saw in 2016, but I suspect it's going to be leveling off more in the 4,000 range. Again, I will find out at the end of 2022 where we're at, but I would expect that to trend to at least 4,000, in the 4,000 range. Yes. You're welcome. Any other questions?
No other questions. I'd be looking for a motion to accept the report. Moved by Duckham, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. All opposed. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day. That takes us to the sheriff year-end report, and Sheriff Schutte is here with us.
Good morning, everyone. I know this is the report you've been waiting for. So, do we have the PowerPoint? Almost. While he's pulling them up, I'll just tell you, it's organized like this. So, in the first part, we're going to talk a little bit about corrections, then we'll move into patrol, then we'll talk about records, and we'll talk about some of the accomplishments that have happened through the year and some of the challenges that we have looking forward. Do I have control? Pardon me? Oh, thank you. So, just to get started, and I'll go through these kind of fast, there's quite a few of them. Feel free to stop me at any point and let me know if you have a question or not. This is just our organizational chart. Kind of gives you an idea how the Sheriff's Department is set out. Under Sheriff is under me, and obviously my administrative assistant. I have 2 captains, 2 lieutenants on patrol. Excuse me, 2 lieutenants, 1 on patrol, 1 on corrections. And then the sergeants that are underneath them are in command of over the deputies and the detectives. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bear.
The PowerPoint that I can bring up from board docs, that slide just says organizational chart, and there's nothing.
So do you have I'm having the same problem with my iPad. Do you have a Mac? Is that what you have?
I've got my iPad, same problem here.
Yeah. So you have to download a program. My undersheriff knows what it is. You have to download a program that allows you to use Microsoft Word and the Microsoft programs like PowerPoint. Otherwise, it won't pull them up with just the regular MacBook. I have the same problem. I apologize for that. So here's the trends of our daily inmate population, and this is a little bit misleading. You can see that back in 17 we were at 380, and we've gone down 20, 30 a year, and then this previous year, 2021, we're way down 236, and a lot of that is just because of COVID and the mandates that are put upon us to try and keep people away from one another. And it's been quite challenging to get there. I won't go into this too in depth, but just to give you an example, what happens when somebody gets COVID is that we have to take all of the cohorts that are with them and separate them from the rest of the population. The person who has COVID can go into another COVID cell with other people who have COVID. The other people who have COVID, who have cohorts as well, we have to keep them away from the other cohorts because we don't know if they've been infected. So this gets to multiply every time we have somebody who's positive and they've been exposed to other people. So let's say we have 5. As of today, we have 51. But let's say we have 5 people that are positive, and they were each in a cell with 3 other people. So those 3 other people have to be separated from one another, from the general population, and from the 5. And then the 5 can be put in together. So it's actually easier for us if they come in with COVID, we can put them right into a COVID cell, but it never works out that way. So that's why our population's the way it is, and actually at 236, we're overcrowded. Because we have them all spread out. And what I mean by overcrowded is we have no other cells that we can put people in because of the mandates that we have right now on keeping people separated from one another. So it creates a lot of difficulties for us. I'll be so glad when this thing is over. At least when these mandates are over. Yes, sir.
I remember back a couple of years ago where the only cure for the COVID was herd immunity, and I submit you're just helping the cause.
I don't have a choice. I know, I get it, but I don't have a choice. So as a result of all of this, our inmate bookings are dramatically down. So a couple of slides will talk a little bit more about this, but as you can see, we should be around 6,000 to 7,000 a year, and we're down to 3,100 a year. Which is drawing the ire from a lot of the judges and is kind of some of the stuff that you were talking with the prosecutor about goes directly to this.
And does this double because you have men and women there too? So you have to have everything you talked about, but you gotta have it for both sides?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And with ladies, it's even more difficult because we have very limited space for ladies.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry?
There aren't any bad ladies.
No, there's no bad ladies. Absolutely not, sir. So inmate meals prepared, obviously is dramatically changed because of the fact that we don't have as many inmates. High school participation, I know I had a couple of you asking about that. We still do offer this. It's very difficult with COVID. The main reason why is because we can't get Wi-Fi through the facility over on Wesley Street, and we just can't get anybody that'll come in. They just won't come in because of the COVID. Inmate medical visits. This is just a breakdown of all the different medical things that we've had going on in a pie chart. Kind of gives you an idea of the amount of COVID tests that we've had and the nurse calls and the doctor visits that have gone on. And I've kind of talked to you about this already. Working with the courts has been key to us being able to keep our heads above water. And I know there was some concern about people being let out that were inside for murder. That's obviously a concern of ours too. I can't speak to that because I don't know the rationale behind it. I can only guess, and I don't think that would be fair to the judges and probably wouldn't be fair to you because it might give you some misinformation. But I'm really thankful for Advanced Healthcare. They've done a great job with us. We've had to up a couple of times their hours in order to work with us. They've gotten sick, and they've worked with us to get more people in there. It's worked out really well. So overall, even though it's been a real difficult nightmare to navigate, overall it's been pretty successful. And again, we're going on to deputies and inmates that have been positive. It gives you an idea in this pie chart exactly what we're talking about here. So we've had, over the course of the year, 80 deputies that have been positive. And some of that's a little misleading because we don't necessarily have 80 deputies. A couple of them have been positive a couple of times. So that's what's going on. Jail cost recovery, this goes into the SMART program that you folks had approved earlier last year, I should say. So we're using that to recover some of the costs in the jail. I think we talked about that already. It's the amount of $300,000 a year. And we're also still getting the snack bags and the sodas and stuff that we're selling people inside the jail through the commissary accounts. That's giving us some money as well. Now moving on to patrol. So this is where it gets really difficult to kind of wrap your brain around. The different things that we have put in place that we've been mandated to do. In particular, with shift briefings being eliminated, simple stuff like that, and staggering locker room times and different things of that nature. One of the things that we've reduced are traffic stops, only for dangerous driving offenses, and limiting arrests. And this goes back to a little bit to corrections. Limiting arrests of felonies. We can't not take a felony. We have to take one. Assault of misdemeanors, domestic assault, and of course, drunk driving, which isn't included on this slide, but that's another one. We have to take those, and we do take those. It's just finding a place to put them has been really difficult in juggling it around. We've been able to navigate it pretty well. We've tried to keep at least one cell open always, just in case there's somebody that absolutely has to come to jail that we need to put in. And we've been able to do it, but we only have one isolation cell that we can work with, and that's the only one that that's the one we've been trying to keep open. So when we get somebody in there, he's in there for a short amount of time, and then we try to find out a place that we can put him, and then we keep that cell open. So it's one of those revolving doors inside that cell. Calls for service, well, they've dropped a little bit, but this is a little difficult to understand too. So for instance, every time the police officers make a traffic stop, that counts for a call for service. So if our traffic stops are less, which they are, that's going to also have an effect on our calls for service. So that's why you see a decrease in 2020 and 2021. They're roughly the same. Traffic enforcement, a lot more warnings and citations. This is something that I prefer. I don't think it should be a revenue generating part of our enforcement. If we're solving a problem and we're taking care of things this way, I would prefer to do it. Arrests, again, arrests are down from the average, as you can see. OWI arrests, people are still driving drunk, so that hasn't really gone down a whole lot. Gun seized, this was an interesting metric for me to wrap my brain around. A lot more guns here this year than I expected. That could be because we've stepped up enforcement as well into some of these people that have been shooting. Deputies' response to resistance, we're getting a lot more resistance, as you know. It's nothing new here, it's all over the country. So the types of initial response to this resistance, as you can see, most of it's just physical, 86%. There is some limited taser amount, chemical irritant, which is our Fox mace, and then a sidearm incident. Secondary response, this is, again, kind of goes based on the same thing. Injuries from the incident, the vast and overwhelming majority of them don't have any injury, and it's about split with the deputy being injured and the suspect being injured from there.
Sheriff Commissioner Williams has a question.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also have the same issue Tony is having, so I need to download this as well. But I was just wondering, as you go along, if you could just tell us what the percentages are on those?
Oh, sure. I apologize. Would you like me to go backwards?
No, it's okay.
Just this point forward?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So, armed versus unarmed suspects, 33.94% of them were unarmed, and 2.6% of them were armed. Suspect under the influence of alcohol or drugs, about 18% we don't know. 32% were under the influence, and 50% of them were not under the influence. Now we're at licenses to purchase firearms. So the number of licenses are what we're looking at, and you can see it's been a dramatic step backward in 2021, which was really surprising to me. Only 606 licenses to purchase firearms issued in 2021 as compared to 2876 in 2020 and 5320 in 2019. Freedom of Information Act requests, we get these all of the time. And 2021, they went up dramatically, almost by 400. 2771 is compared to 2020, which was 2378, and 2019 was 2506. We have 2 staff dedicated to completing Freedom of Information Act requests, which is pretty significant. What they have to do is go through each of the reports and redact them for victims' names and date of births and all that personal information. It's quite a lengthy process. And in addition to that, we also have in-car cameras. We also have video cameras that are on the, body-worn cameras that are on the deputies themselves. We have to go in there and blur faces and blur addresses and do all sorts of stuff. So it's quite a lengthy process for that. And we're operating under a limited time frame to get them done.
So when you do FOIAs like that where you have digitized information, does the FOIA requestee supply you with the flash drive, or do you put it on a flash drive, or what do we do?
Yep, we put it on a flash drive and they're charged for it.
Thank you.
Yep. Then fingerprints. These are for a number of different reasons, whether it's jobs, guns, all sorts of different reasons. People come in and get fingerprints. This year, 2177, so it's been up, and it's been going up here the last couple of years, which I found interesting. 2020, it was 1936. 2019 was 1405. 18 was 1407, and 1742 in 2017. So you can see we've gone up quite a bit. I think that's a good thing overall. This isn't fingerprints of people that are coming in for arrest. This is actually people coming in for jobs and different things. Registered handguns, down this year, 7076 in 2021. In 2020, it was 8542, so a pretty significant decrease, almost 1,500. And then 2019 was 5683. So kind of balancing in between that, I guess it's probably not, maybe it's leveling off again. It's quite possible. Absolutely. Now the Special Response Team. This is a joint effort between us and the Jackson Police Department and Blackman Township. It's 13 members on the SRT. They're all specially trained to high-risk warrant entries and warrant execution, barricaded gunmen, those types of situations. We had 9 incidents last year in 2021 that they respond to. Usually it's in the middle of the night kind of stuff, and they've done an excellent job. They're the kind of group that you got to have, because if you don't have them and you need them, everything goes to heck in a handbasket quick. We rely on them heavily. They do a lot of our trainings for firearms and specialty stuff through the year as well. Traffic crash investigation. So we have a couple of people that are specifically trained in traffic accident reconstruction, which is quite a big deal. Last year we did 7 reconstructions of traffic accidents. And then if you look at this total crashes, and the 5-year trend, you'll note that 2021 is not there. We don't have that from the state yet. We expect to get that soon, but unfortunately, we didn't have it for this presentation. But you'll notice that we're right around 15 and 16, 14 last year. We did 7 reconstructions. That doesn't mean that there were 7 fatal accidents last year. It's just we reconstructed 7. And then moving on to our annual awards banquet, we had 2 deputies of the year, Cody Barland off to the left and Alicia Bigger. Just for your edification, Alicia Bigger is no longer a corrections deputy. She is now on the road. She was one of our deputies that elected to go on the road. She's doing a fantastic job on the road and moving through training really well. Worth noting, 31 commendations, 5 term awards, and 4 meritorious service awards last year. And I thank you to those who showed up for the awards banquet. We really appreciate that. Our Marine Patrol. So we have 2 deputies that are assigned to this full-time, and they are our school resource deputies that come in from the school resource, from the schools during the summertime. And 609 hours patrolled on 27 different lakes, 104 boats stopped, only 4 citations, again, operating under that idea that if we can stop a problem without writing a ticket, we're better off. 84 warnings issued, and no border safety courses this year because of the fact that COVID-19 was preventing it.
Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
We have 1 or 2 townships that hire for additional hours for Marine Patrol. Is it 1 or 2?
We have Grass Lake and...
Hanover still?
For Marine Patrol?
Yeah.
Or, no. I'll get back with you.
Don't worry.
I'm sorry, threw me for a curve. Grass Lake is one of them, and I want to tell you Norval might be the other one, off the top of my head.
I know that when the
Oops.
previous supervisor was out there, he had us, we had like 8 extra hours a week or something like that on.
On the road, or on their lakes,
Yeah.
yes, that's correct. And, I'm sorry, moving along to the dive team. I'm not sure if you guys can see all of this, I'm hoping that you can. There's a couple of different incidents in here. So, they searched Mellencamp Lake for a fisherman who later was contacted Napoleon PD and said I didn't fall in the lake. We had snowmobile recovery on February 20th in Napoleon Township of a stolen snowmobile. Assisted Blackman Township at Cunningham Pond regarding a missing persons case. And on Berry Road, we had a call out on June 8th for a boater that had partially fallen out of their boat and was partially submerged. Then the dive team training events throughout the year, there were 4 of them, consisted of dives at Parkside Pool, the night and day lake dives, and a dive under the ice. Just so you know, I want to emphasize this, 15 volunteers on our dive team, which is pretty fantastic. And in fact, Hillsdale County is having a very difficult time even manning a dive team. This is something that's statutorily mandated for sheriffs to do. And so we've been loaning out our dive team to them. They've been gracious enough to accept that. So it's something that we've been working with Hillsdale County on, and I don't know if that's going to morph over into Lenawee County or not. I've heard some rumblings of it, but as of right now, we're also helping out Hillsdale County. I think they have 1 or 2 divers in Hillsdale County, that's it. And you just can't do it with 1 or 2. School resource deputies, I touched on this already. We actually have 3 full-time school resource deputies, one in Vandercook Lake, one at Western Schools, and then one that splits his time between a couple of different districts. We have a couple of deputies that came in from retirement that are handling Grass Lake and Northwest Schools as well. Go through our major incidents real quick, and just want to touch on these ones because I think they're critically important. A huge embezzlement case at Peak Manufacturing, $600,000 was taken. Suspects awaiting trial there. March 21, a homicide on 227 South Street in Summit Township. That suspect is in custody and is awaiting trial. March 24th, homicide-suicide at a care home in Summit Township. triple homicide in Grass Lake on August 20th. That subject is in jail awaiting trial. October 15th, we had that deputy-involved shooting at 2535 Spring Arbor Road. State Police conducted that investigation. The deputy was not criminally charged by the prosecutor, and he retired prior to discipline with me. Then on November 26th, detectives with assistance from MSP Aviation Unit located a missing and endangered person deceased in Lime Lake. The person was submerged. They were face down. They were able to see the bottom of her white shoes from a helicopter. Pretty fascinating stuff. We also have a mounted division, which is all volunteers as well. Many of the events were canceled, obviously, because of COVID-19, but there were a number of hours that were put in, 1,352 hours in 2021. COVID, which really set us back in 2020, 370 only that year. And we're getting really close to pre-COVID levels with the mounted division, 1,352 hours in 2019, and then comparing it to 2018 at 1,609 hours. So we're getting really close with our mounted division. They're all volunteers as well. They're part of our reserve corps. It really helps out, like at the fair, faster horses, different things like that, because the elevated position that they are in the horses, and the fact that it draws a lot of attention to police being in the area, really calms crowds down. And then moving on to our reserves, 1,862 hours were donated this year to the Sheriff's Office, and then as compared to last year, 841. And that's been a significant increase. As you can see, from 2019, we had 1,391 hours donated, and then 2018, 1,544 hours donated. These guys ride along with the deputies. They do a lot of special events and things of that nature, and it's been very helpful. Our Explorer program has been fantastic. It's really taken off. 2017 is when it began. As of right now, we have I believe 10 inside of our Explorer program, ranging from age of 15 to 21, and we're accepting applicants. They do all sorts of different activities as well with us, including the fair and other special events. Really important, 2 deputies as a result of that Sheriff's Explorer program. Emma Freeman on the left and Josh Howard on the right. So we use all sorts of different social media to reach out to the public, to get input from them. Obviously Facebook and Twitter and other social media, Instagram as well. One of the things that we've been looking into is that we wanted to get the Mobile Patrol app back. It was really popular. A lot of people have commented to me about that, but unfortunately that company is out of business. We have determined that there is another place that we can use. There's some costs associated with it. I don't think it's anything we can't handle, but we're still working on it right now. I'm expecting to bring some stuff to you folks within the next month or two on getting something new for the public. Our Jackson Narcotics Enforcement Team, or JNET, we weren't able to participate because our numbers were so low last year. We do have Deputy Barland in there now, who was our Officer of the Year last year. He's in JNET working as we speak. We also, that this doesn't reflect, and I apologize for that, we also are responsible for the administrative secretary that's in JNET as well. And she was in all of last year. Some of our accomplishments, of course you've seen the cars, got a lot of good input on Facebook as a result of that, and we have new uniforms coming out. I think we just finished our last fittings a week or so ago, but we may have a few more stragglers out there. For the most part, it's going to look exactly the same as the way I'm dressed today. There will be some changes, potentially. As you can see in this particular photograph, that's an exterior vest, and on that vest there's a couple of his things that are on his belt. For instance, his ammunition, and looks like his radio, and a couple of other things that you can't see. The reason why that's important is because it takes a lot of the weight off the hips. A lot of police officers have bad backs as a result of wearing a big gun belt like this. There's quite a bit of pounds that's added to the uniform as a result of that. So this ought to alleviate a lot of those problems. The guys were really excited about this. The uniforms themselves are going to be significantly cheaper than the uniform that I'm wearing right now. So for instance, the shirts will be half the cost of the shirt that I'm wearing right now. So the shirt that I'm wearing right now, because this one's long sleeves, $128. The long sleeve shirt in the new material, that's called ripstop material, will be $62. And the short sleeve shirt, like this, is $115. And the short sleeve shirt, like you see in that photograph, is $57. So significant cost savings there. The pants, it's the same. These pants are $132 with a stripe sewn in on them. Those have a stripe in them on them as well, and I believe, I'm speaking out of turn here, but I believe it's between $65 and $70 for those pants. Yes, sir.
With all the uniforms everybody wears and all, you have a uniform company that, I mean, I did at work. Do you guys have, they come in, pick up the uniform company and mix your pants up and give you somebody else's, or?
Oh, no. Nope. So what we do is we buy 3 pairs of pants, and we buy 3 summer shirts and 3 winter shirts. And then they're responsible for getting them cleaned. And I believe there's a cleaning allowance that is allowed for up to $400 a year, depending upon use, things of that nature. So that's how we handle it. And for the most part, these uniforms stay in pretty decent shape. But like I said, the ripstop material is just as sturdy as the material that I'm wearing today, and it should be considerably less moving forward.
No, I'd never seen like Banner or Lennon or anybody down picking up uniforms, and
No.
everybody's responsible for their own.
Everybody's responsible for their own.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Waterloo contract is an accomplishment I'm really proud of. So they've signed a 5-year extension. We had the 1-year deal in the beginning, and now we're in a 5-year contract with them. New hires and promotions. So 2 captains, actually 3 captains were hired here because we had George Trushin, who had to step away because of COVID. But Kevin Hiller is on road patrol, Anthony Stewart is in corrections, and we were able to promote Jeremy Barnett from acting lieutenant to lieutenant in the patrol services. We had 2 sergeants promoted in patrol, Sam Sukovich and Tom Freeman, and 1 detective. Tom Freeman was promoted from detective to sergeant, so his spot opened up a vacancy, and Mark Easter was promoted there. Correction staffing was increased from 50 to 53, thank you very much. And a total of 10 road patrol deputies were hired. So we really I think we did a fantastic job hiring 10 deputies. I mean, you're not going to find that in too many other places around the state, or maybe even around the country, in terms of percentages on how we've been able to keep up. I've been really excited about that. At one point in time, prior to a couple of retirements here, we were fully staffed, which is really unheard of today. And that's got a lot to do with our in-out program. We talked about this before. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were able to see these photographs. Those are the 5 deputies that just graduated from the police academy. And that was everyone who showed up to watch their graduation, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. We had a patrol deputy, a sergeant who showed up, our lieutenant, our patrol captain, of course myself, and the undersheriff as well. We vastly outnumbered the other agencies who showed up for their recruits' graduation, vastly. We were a huge showing. Other accomplishments, you folks had a lot to do with this. We replaced our tasers, our in-car cameras, our body-worn cameras, and our mobile data computers. Now, we're still waiting on our body-worn cameras. We got a couple of glitches there, but it looks like we're going to be able to get that done here within the next month or so. Again, major technology equipment challenges for the sheriff's office. Purchased all of these different equipment. this is a little redundant here, but it's important to note that the GTAC products have been absolutely fantastic in the cars and have made a huge difference for us. Patrol staffing is going to be a challenge moving forward. One of the things that's important to understand, looking back at the history, and this is one of the things that I was able to come up with as I've been researching the jail a little bit, is that in 2002, we had 14 more full-time patrol deputies on the road. 14. That's a pretty significant decrease in 20 years. We've been able to get some of these positions back through these contractual agreements that we've had with the townships. I'm actually talking to a couple of other townships about maybe one, either increasing some coverage in one township or maybe getting a deputy in another. So stay tuned on that. I'm hopeful that we can add some more positions. I'm confident that we'll be able to fill them with the programs that we have. We've had some difficulty retaining deputies, and this is historically looking back. I'm hoping that we can curb this trend as time goes along. But as you can see, before 2012, the average years of service was 19.5. Today it's 9. So almost half, or actually more than half, excuse me. So, jail stakeholders, the population of our jail kept as low as it is certainly unsustainable for our criminal justice system. We can't keep people out of jail the way that we have been doing it. And we've been doing it a number of different ways. It's been very creative on how we've done it with using court services and tethers and different things of that nature. But it's not gonna continue on like this. I'm really hopeful that we don't have a major event that causes us to have to house people in other locations. As I explained to you in a previous meeting, it's a minimum $35 a day for those inmates, and it could really, those costs could really, really get expensive quick. This is a little redundant from the last meeting as well, but I'm going to touch on it real quickly. The Wesley Street facility is, probably it is our biggest challenge, no doubt about it. The building pulling apart, the plumbing leaks, the heating and cooling problems that we have, mechanical issues. Just to give you an idea, I threw a couple of things on here, proxy cards, which we don't have you'd think we'd have them at the jail. We don't have. The cost on doing that at the Wesley facility is $30,000. The hot water boiler in the Wesley facility is $40,000 to fix. Air conditioning chiller is $250,000 to fix. And these are just hitting some highlights, really. The Chandler Road millage is set to expire, and we've got to take care of that. So a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of work to be done on my end to bring to you folks so you can be completely informed moving forward.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Committee members, hopefully you have no questions, because we got to move along. Who does there? Okay, Commissioner Williams.
I'm sorry, I'll be real brief. I know we're approaching the start time of our next meeting, but you had mentioned I think it was the dive team, if you will.
Yes.
That's mandated?
Yes.
Okay, does that come with any potential state dollars?
Do we get state dollars for that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look into that for you.
Okay. Is the same for the mounted division as well?
No, the mounted division is not mandated.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Be looking for a motion to accept the sheriff's report. Moved by Duckham, supported by Bear. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you very
Also,
much.
if you can, let us know where you want us to meet today so we can tour the
Yes, come right into the front lobby.
Wesley Street, or you
Wesley Street.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Perfect, thank you.
I sent you an email.
Yes, I got it. Yep, anybody wants to come.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Excuse me, are you the sheriff?
Yes.
I'd like a private meeting with you and the prosecutor, Mike Jester from Blackland Wheeling Public Safety.
This takes us to item number J, 911 quarterly update, and Mr. Hammond is here. Hello, Jason.
Good morning. I'll try to make this quick.
So, some of the things we've done 334 FOIAs in 2022, 74 pings on cell phones. H-Bill 5026 was passed and signed by the governor. That bill gives us the funding, extended the sunset date to 2027. Dispatch training audit application sent in to the state in January. New radio templates have been handed out to the fire departments. There's been a few issues on those templates, so we've corrected those. We're still working with GIS and the state to correct some of our local GIS issues, addressing.
Jason, can you advance the slides too?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see how they're holding up.
Sorry. There you go. PFN, we did an audit on all the equipment that we have in both of our primary and backup facility, looking at the end dates for the UPSs. Currently, we've been working on the TX policy and also the county policy for law enforcement. Our call volume went up in 2021 by 3.3%. Currently, we have two new non-agencies getting onto wanting to get on the radio system that we will talk about later today in our advisory board. The total calls, for comparison, I usually show you guys the past 2 years. I actually want to show you guys the past 5 years, so you guys can see the increase from 2017 to the most current 2021, which was, like I said, 3.3%. Calls for texting, 366 calls texting, 17 TDD, but that still comes through as texting as well. As for the hearing impaired. Response time for law enforcement was approximately 90% of the time they were there within 28 minutes. Fire dispatch calls per day. As you can see, our Mondays and Fridays are our busiest times for fire calls. Fire agencies response times, also, it's about 9% of the time they're there within 9 minutes. This is the call for service. Every agency we use here in Jackson, mutual aid from other counties, things of that nature. Also put a graph, you can see the increase of calls for each agency. 2021, they went up significantly. And this here is, I broke it down, it's a very large scale, so I broke it down just to the city. So these are how many calls our ambulances went into the city.
Jason, 1 second, the administrator has a question.
Hey, Jason,
Yeah.
it just occurred to me, I heard you say the calls went up significantly, but maybe I'm mistaken, board, correct me if I'm wrong, did I hear the sheriff say that his numbers were looking like they all went down?
Yes.
So what's the difference there?
For let's say if we get a traffic stop or no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean traffic stop, but like PIs, accidents, things of that nature, or like a domestic call, we might get 4 or 5 calls for that, for one incident. For any type of accident on the highway, it's probably a minimum of about 13 calls are coming through. Sorry.
But that would be normal last year, the year before, and the year before that. But if he's making less stops and calls, I'm not so sure. I still don't understand the difference. And you don't have to, if you don't know, that's fine. You can look it up and let us know.
Yeah, I'll have to, but it all comes from the computer, and that's what we use. Yep.
Okay, committee members, are there any questions? Okay, Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you. The response time on law enforcement is 28 minutes, fire 9. Is just the nature of the business? I mean, it seems like quite a...
Every township has their own fire departments, so we'll be able to respond quicker to the incidents. Law enforcement, during the different times of days, nights, they can be scattered throughout the whole county. Some might be coming from Parma over to Waterloo, the travel time and stuff, so That's where the,
The 12-hour departments that are.
12 hours.
You responded to Parma with a nighttime car. It takes a lot of time to get there, where Columbia is pretty much 24-hour service, so they're quick and,
correct.
right, okay.
We could break it down to each department, but
Yeah, no, okay.
It'd be a-
I just wanted to understand that. Seems like 28 minutes is a long time when you need a police officer.
yes, it
Seems,
is.
and I know you guys are doing a great job. I just wanted to understand it. Thank you.
Commissioner Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at your fire dispatch calls per day, you say some of those may be more than one call on the incident. And is there any way to, take it down to incidents instead of just calls? And also, I would imagine a lot of these fire dispatch calls are actually EMS calls?
So every fire call, some of the fire calls do include EMS, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Is there a way to break that out? 'Cause
Yes.
I'm looking at, the whole county's on fire.
Well, the fire calls, I mean, they're accidents, they're PDAs,
Right.
there are fire alarms, so there's a whole lot of different call types, they'll say, that are put in there.
Yeah, yeah.
You want them
And I
separated?
understood that. I just wondered if there's a way to break that out.
Yeah, I sure can.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Pilecki also has a question.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, for the indulgence. I appreciate it. Thinking about, and this is a little bit off topic, but with respect to the emergency medical dispatch that we've kind of been talking about over the
Yes, sir.
past few months, do you suppose that the ambulance company would consent to a tour of their dispatching facility? I mean, I'd love to come and see yours as well, but I wonder if we could take a look and see what they're doing.
I'm sure Kevin would, yes.
I'd be interested to see that.
Do you want me to set that up, or?
At your convenience. I'm just asking whether they would agree to that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I'd be looking for a motion to accept the report. Moved by Bear, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you very much for the report and your work. That moves us to item K, Airport Hangar 303 sale and new ground lease. Hello, sir. How are you today?
Morning. Doing well, thank you. This is a request to waive the first right of refusal on Hangar 303 and to approve a standard 20-year ground lease for the new owner, which is Jerry Willis.
So committee members, this is pretty standard practice, as I understood, talking to the administrator about it. Is there any questions? Are there any questions? All right, if not, I'd be looking for a motion to forward this to the full board. Moved by Bear, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to item L, Airport Hangar 122 lease renewal.
Okay, this is a renewal of a lease for Hangar 122. The lease expired at the end of December 2021, and it was an administrative oversight by the airport. And so the owners are still wanting to keep the building on the airport, so we're requesting a lease renewal for Hangar 122. This is a request that was approved by the airport board and the airport manager.
Okay, again, committee members, standard procedure, but if there's any questions, I'd entertain them. Any questions? No question. All right, moved by Commissioner Williams. We're looking for support. I'll support that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
You as well. That takes us to the Public Defender Quarterly Report. Mr. Fortino. Am I pronouncing that right?
Fortino, yes.
Okay.
Good morning. This is my quarterly report. My quarterly reports are basically the same. The numbers don't change much. The numbers of the felonies and the numbers of the open misdemeanors and open felonies seems to be pretty consistent. I've noticed that through the past year or so. That doesn't mean we're not getting any more. It just means that now we're at a point where we can start resolving more of them. So it seems to me that about as many that come in, we resolve through the quarter or through the month. We might get 45 cases come in through the month, and we'll resolve 45 cases through the month. That's why those numbers don't seem to change much. Another thing I want to report is the construction, progress on the construction of our new office suites. We're getting there. Every time I meet with Derek from facilities every week, and we go through it, and we're trying to rein in the costs and keep the costs as low as we can, and yet keep the project going. Of course, with facilities is spread kind of thin, so it's taking us a little bit longer than we had hoped, but we're getting there. I'm hoping that we can be in there by the end of this month, maybe the middle of next month. All the painting is done, all the electrical's done. The HVAC is almost done. And I've got the carpet ordered. That should be installed in the next couple of weeks. So we're moving that way. We've already got all the furniture that we need. We purchased that prior. It's being stored now, and we'll just move all that in and get some people in there as soon as possible. Staffing is also an issue with us. I never thought I'd say this, and I've said it a couple times the past couple of weeks. There seems to be a shortage of lawyers out there. You can't seem to find them. I've never thought I'd be saying that. There aren't enough lawyers. We're having troubles attracting them. I've gotten quite a few resumes. Many of them are from law students who haven't passed the bar yet. But recently I found a couple who are qualified, made an offer on one of them. Mr. Freeman will be starting soon as he gets through the process. So we finally got another felony attorney in the office. We can keep up on those cases. I won't do any more hiring, aside from a secretary position, until we get into those offices, because we just plain don't have the space where we are. I'd like to take in interns. I've talked about that. I'd like to work in a social worker, and I think we're going to build that into our budget proposal for the coming year. They can be very useful, as I've discussed before, in helping our clients navigate the system and get some assistance if they need it, things like that. But I am excited about moving forward with the building and getting more attorneys in, doing an intern type program, maybe start with shadowing. But as I said, I haven't been able to do it yet because we just don't have the space. I still have 2 attorneys working in our conference room. There'll be 3 there when Steve starts. Recently negotiated and signed contracts with conflict attorneys. I think we have 7 now. Basically took last year's contract and cleaned it up a bit, and we have those signed contracts now, so those people are working. We made sure that they're all up to date on their CLEs, the continuing legal education credits. It's required that they have 12 per year in order to represent indigent defendants in court. So we've made certain of that. Also, we've been working with the district and circuit courts. Standard 5 from MIDC requires that there be separation between the courts and the court-appointed attorneys, or the indigent defense attorneys. We're taking over all the responsibilities of determining eligibility, of appointing the attorneys to the clients if they qualify. We've come up with some paperwork, an application for counsel, guidelines for our attorneys to follow when determining whether somebody is eligible, including income, and also a form to file with the courts and the prosecuting attorney indicating that we've taken this case, we're going to represent that person and they qualify. And then, of course, we monitor that throughout the case. Sometimes they come into money and they can pay for some of their services, so we investigate that and we'll collect that through the courts. But as of March 1st, the process of appointing indigent counsel will be completely independent of the judiciary. They won't have anything in it. I think they're happy about it. It's less work for them to do. It sort of cuts out a middleman. So we're looking forward to doing that. Again, March 1st, we're going to start that. Other than that, we don't have that many moving parts in our office. We represent indigent defendants. And that's about all we do. Like I said, I'd like to expand that in the future, but when we have the space, we'll address it in the next budget with the state and with the board. Anybody have any questions?
Committee members, any questions? Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Chairman. Your statement here under your thoughts on needing a social worker. A social worker would assist our clients in navigating the criminal justice system.
Yes.
Isn't that what your defense attorneys do?
Yes, they do. But we don't have the resources that social workers have. We can refer them to programs, but we can't help them follow through. Also, there may be issues in the home that the social worker can address, and the attorneys just plain don't have the time for that. It would be nice to have the social worker who can look into these different programs and guide these people to programs if they qualify for those programs, and actually determine whether they're eligible for any of these programs.
Okay, we don't have in this county other departments that have social workers that can assist them with their referrals, services, education, housing?
Oh, I'll give you an example. Mary Ellen Hayes in our office, one of our felony attorneys, has a client who is pretty low mentally ill, and she has troubles tracking him down because he forgets. He doesn't charge his phone because he's living on the street, things like that. She spends a lot of time looking for him to get him to court, make sure he gets through the system. Now, if we had someone in our office who could contact him on a regular basis and make sure that he's appearing when he's supposed to appear. Also, she has been trying for over a month to find some agency in the county that can help this man. Basically, the way I look at it is, if we had someone who could complete a petition to have this person examined and get a determination of whether the person is competent, that would be very helpful. But she has not been able to find anybody in the county that can do that for us. So I haven't found anybody that can provide these services for us.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Might be something the Lifeway Board could take up.
Yeah, we have contacted.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, other than that, is there any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept the report. Moved by Duckham, supported by Bear. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
This will take us down to item 5, other business. I would need a motion to pay the claims. Moved by Wall, supported by Williams. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Takes us to item B, other minutes, of which I see none. Takes us to next month's reporting schedule. Next month, March, we'll have the Jackson County Department of Transportation, the Youth Center, the Friend of the Court, the airport, the animal shelter, and emergency management reporting to us. This takes us to our second opportunity for public comment. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir. Yeah, it's a 2-minute limit on this opportunity. Please state your name.
Most of you know me. My name is Scott Audney. I'm conducting an investigation into the general election of 2020. I've discovered, in addition to other people that I'm working with, extensive law breaking. I'm working with the Director of Public Safety from Blackman Leone Township, who's opening a case, an investigation here, but I'm being stonewalled by this sheriff of this county. I'm told that the prosecutor will work to sit down with me. I have requested a meeting between myself, Mike Jester, the head of the Blackman Leone Public Safety, and the sheriff. I want it in writing in order for me to get it in court that the sheriff refuses to meet with us. And I'd like to know what direction I have to go to get that, because he refuses to return a call to me, and I'm concerned that he may blow active criminal investigations in other jurisdictions regarding this matter. And maybe the board can give me direction. Do I need to go to Mr. Overton to get a letter from the sheriff? Or will the board put pressure on the sheriff to write a refusal letter? I intend to take this to court. This sheriff took an oath of office to uphold the laws of the state of Michigan and the U.S. Constitution. We have found law breaking, extensive law breaking, and it's not what anybody thought. I have data technology background, and you, Mr. Vice Chair, know that. I'm working with other individuals. This case will become the national news item in a few months. We're trying to get criminal investigations started, and unfortunately, it goes into county public offices here.
10 seconds.
I want direction on how to get a letter from the sheriff that he refuses to meet.
Thank you. Time has expired. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. That takes us to the opportunity of committee member comments. Are there any committee member comments? Commissioner Bear.
I have done this. I would encourage other people to look back to the April 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting. One issue that concerned me at the time was the rental of radio space on county towers by Consumers Energy. I was surprised, and one of my questions that I asked for more detail on was how was the annual rental fee of $23,000 to Consumers Energy for using our towers, how was that price arrived? It just seemed to me to be extremely low. And that's why I'd encourage you to go back and look at the video, because it is clear on there that when I questioned our administrator on how that fee was established, his statement was that he took the cost per radio, multiplied it by the number of radios that they were going to be adding, and he subtracted from that their initial annual investment of $500,000, and that's how he came up with the annual rental of $23,000. So that tells me that the actual cost for renting those radios is $523,000 a year. Simple, do the math. He said he took the total, he subtracted 500 out, the result was $32,000 a year. So I'm going to be looking at that rental agreement closely when that comes up for reevaluation in March and April. And I'm going to be expecting the rental fee to be in the range of $525,000 a year. So the rest of you, please look into that. You can verify the data that I'm presenting here. Another item I want to talk about is the land sales. The land on Kibbe Road is being reevaluated, and looking at the minutes from last month's meeting, it was stated that the sale of the 3 parcels of land at Kibbe and West in the, let me see, grab the right one here. It was stated that the sale of those properties, the monies would go to the general fund. In the printout that we get explaining the entire process, that was stated in there, that the money should go to the general fund, which is where I think that should go. And those of that voted in favor of that, I assume you were going along with that total document that said that the monies would go to the general fund. In emails since then, it's been stated that those monies would be given to parks because the waterfalls in the parks still need repair. Parks, I like our parks. I'm on the Parks Committee. I support parks programs. I also support our taxpayers. When the taxpayers approved that millage, the taxpayers said, we don't want parks to be just funded out of the general fund anymore. We want a special allocated dollar amount for parks, and that was approved. And so after there's a millage to operate a department, then that department doesn't get anything out of the general fund anymore. Doesn't get exclusively the oil well revenues anymore. And so I want to make sure that that money goes to the general fund, as stated in the administrator's letter laying out the whole program. Third item I want to talk about today is the soil erosion sediment control ordinance. And one thing that myself and the drain commissioner seem to be taking the focus of a lot of people's comment is that it's me and the drain commissioner that is wanting is going to be causing the cost for doing these inspections to go way up, because the drain commissioner and myself are expanding the scope from what is currently the responsibility. So I want to point you to the original document that was presented to us by the Health Department. Article 1, C, objectives. Objectives to prevent soil erosion, to prevent unnecessary stripping, to ensure that adequate, to ensure that all drainage, to eliminate the need for costly remediation. You get to item 7, to provide for stricter regulation of soil erosion and sedimentation control in Jackson County than is provided for in the Act or the rules. So right in the Health Department's original statement under their objectives, they said they wanted stricter enforcement beyond what the state requires. And that's what I'm looking for also. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Duckham.
Thank you, Commissioner Kennedy. I'd like to offer to, from now on, cede like the first 30 minutes of my meeting time to you. You seem to have a problem keeping your meeting under 2 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Duckham. Thank you for your 7th comment of this meeting. I appreciate that. Is there any other committee member? Okay, so Mr. Ogden, I'll address you just so you know. We don't answer or debate during public comment. That's why no one responded. Okay. I would recommend personally that you send a written email so that you have a path showing that you tried to contact the officials that you're trying to contact.
I'm good enough, Mr. Vice Chair. I
That's-
want the board to get behind it.
Okay, well, we're not here to debate. That being said, if there's no other committee members, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Duckham, supported by Walls. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes unanimously. Meeting adjourned.